Hi everyone, how are you doing? Good afternoon. And I think everybody is here to see what Kartika has to show. She's very popular for her macarons, besides the rest of the things that she makes. And she has very gracefully and very generously come over to teach us her macaron secret recipe.
Okay, uh, good afternoon, everybody. Hi. So, how many of you here have already attempted macarons? Okay, quite a handful. And I'm sure you would have faced some problems, and that is why you are here at my demo. Are you able to hear me properly? Okay. Um, so basically, macarons are French confectionaries, and they are meringue based. So these days, you see that people make it egg free also, because there's this new thing called magic invention called aquafaba, which has come up, which is replacing eggs slowly. But then we will focus today on eggs, the macarons with eggs, and I will give you some pointers to nail them without eggs as well. Okay. So basically, when I say it's meringue based confectionery, there are three kinds of meringues that we know. One is the French, one is the Italian, and one is the Swiss meringue. Okay. And French is the easiest one you could do. That just start off with egg whites and then beat them until soft peak, and then you would add the sugar little bit at a time, and then you have a very stiff and glossy meringue. That's your French meringue, and that's the easiest. Whereas in Italian meringue, you'll have to cook your egg whites with the sugar syrup with a temperature of 118, which is called your soft ball stage. Okay, so it's a little procedurous. However, that's the method that professional patisseries and hotel industry uses because of the consistent results that it gives. Okay, so home bakers, we tend to go for the easiest one because that things we don't need to depend on, like the induction or the thermometer or the stand mixer, because Italian meringue comes out very well with stand mixers, and we all we have is a hand mixer. Of course, you can do Italian meringue with hand mixers also. You can handle this and somebody else can check the temperature for you. But today what we will do is we will do the simpler method for you to start with, and that's the French method. Okay. So you would have seen like hundreds of recipes online, and you'd be confused to what is right and what is wrong, and each of them different in proportions of ingredients that you see. Okay. But traditionally, there's one master recipe from which everything has been derived out, and everyone has made their own changes and tweaks to suit them. Okay, so according to me, the master recipe should have equal quantities of almond meal, icing sugar, and caster sugar. Okay, so the ratio of these three ingredients must be 1:1:1. So equal quantities of all three. And then as a fourth ingredient, you have egg whites. Okay, and the quantity of your egg whites will vary how the result of your French macaron would be. If you use more egg whites, it's going to be more chewy and more heavy and more moist. Okay, if you use lesser egg whites, it's going to be more drier, more brittle, and less susceptible to taking in the flavor because it's brittle. If it's moist, it can easily take in the flavor that's you're going to fill it with. Okay, so today what we're going to do is, so from the formula that I have told you, we are going to form the recipe now. So it's going to be 100 grams of almond meal, 100 grams of icing sugar, and 100 grams of caster sugar. Okay, so equal quantities. And then the amount of egg white that you're going to use is going to range somewhere between 60 to 80 grams. Okay, so that's, we call a recipe by 60 by percentage. If you use 60 grams of egg whites, you call it 60% recipe, and if you use 70, you use 70% recipe, and if it's 80, you call it 80% recipe. Okay, that's how you call the recipe as. And the same applies to Italian method also. You can come up with your own recipe with this formula. Okay, if you just research enough. Okay, so what we will do now is we will start off by sieving your dry ingredients, which is your almond meal and icing sugar. Your almond meal, you got to make sure it's fine. Whenever you buy the almond meal online or from outside, there are two things that I make sure to do. One is to uh, toast it in the oven. That is, I'm just going to spread it in an aluminum tray and then toasted at around 160, 170 for about 10 minutes. This will take off the excess moisture from the almond meal and will also take out the fat. If it's excess fat, it takes out. Okay. And also I'd like to put it in the mixie again to blend it one more time with a little bit of icing sugar so that I have very fine granules of almond meal. Okay. So if you have bigger granules of almond meal, what happens is it shows up on your shells. There are some days when we are really in hurry and we don't want to do all these steps as well. That's when you have bumpy tops. You literally can see almond meal on top. So if you want to like really perfect, smooth, shiny macaron, you can do all these precautions to make sure. So the icing sugar here, not naming any brand, but then try and use an icing sugar that does not have too much starch. Like say for instance, there are certain brands when you open the packet, the icing sugar literally flies, which means there's too much starch in it. Starch is usually added in icing sugar to prevent lumping of the icing sugar. So even if your packet has a little lumps here and there, it's okay, which means they've added a little less starch in order to do that. And in macaron shells, we don't need starch. It's supposed to be gluten free and all that. So choose the icing sugar which has less than 5% of starch. Okay, and then you will sieve it together. When you sieve it together, little bit of almond meal, little bit of icing sugar, little bit of almond meal, little bit of icing sugar, and then sieve it so that it comes out uniformly out from the sieve. Okay, so that is done, and coming to egg whites, this has been aged. So if you had seen a lot of recipes online, you would see that the egg whites are generally being aged. So aging the egg white means separating the yolks and the whites very carefully without putting the yolk bits in it. So this, if you see, it's just egg whites, no fat in it. Okay, so this needs to be separated, and in a container like this, just loosely close it and put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 to 3 days. When you do that, what happens is the water content. So egg whites is mostly water, 60 to 70% water and little bit of protein. So in the fridge, the water tends to evaporate a little bit, giving you a more concentrated protein, concentrated protein in the egg white, which is what we want. So throughout the process, both in Italian or French or Swiss marine, you don't want too much moisture. Okay, you want the batter to be moistureless. So at every stage, you're trying to do that. Well, in almond meal, you toasted it to remove excess moisture, and in egg whites, you are aging it to get rid of the excess moisture. Okay, so once you have that, take out your egg whites and keep your custard sugar ready by the side. So what we're going to do is we are going to start beating the egg whites at slow. Start beating it at slow. So if you're doing the recipe with aquafaba, that is your egg alternate, you would drain off the excess from the can and you would do the exact same thing. Okay. Sometimes people tend to reduce it a lot. By reducing, what I mean is take off the aquafaba and then put it on the induction or cook it in the gas. That kind of evaporates the water from it. Okay. Then you get again concentrated version of the aquafaba, and that is when I will measure out and then I will start beating it. So in French method, I use a fifth ingredient which is optional, but it's called cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is a powdered form of an acid. So that helps to stabilize your egg whites basically. Okay. So at this stage I would usually add it, but then cream of tartar is already added in my caster sugar because I didn't want to bring too many things. Okay, it's already added in my caster sugar. Just a pinch. Just a pinch. Okay. So I've started it at slow and I'm going to just keep beating it until I get soft peaks. By soft peaks, what I mean is I'll be able to see the trail of my hand mixer in the egg whites. It shouldn't dissolve. When I do this, I can still see that trail of egg whites in that. So now I can tell that it's come to soft peaks because I can see the trail of the egg whites in this. Okay. So don't stop. Go on slow. I'm going to add this little bit at a time. color, color. Okay. So 1 teaspoon at a time every 10 to 15 seconds and keep beating it. And also please note for aquafaba it takes way longer time than egg whites because egg whites are much more capable of trapping in air and doubling in volume, whereas aquafaba will take its time, and that is why a lot of people you see whipping up aquafaba in stand mixers because that's got more power and you don't have to keep beating it like this. By hand mixer, egg free macros, I mean to whip up the aquafaba it will take at least 15 minutes. So okay, so I'm adding. So also um, it's very important to add your caster sugar only when this reaches your soft peak so that it comes to its fullest volume. Otherwise, I have seen recipes or people who add the caster sugar all at once to the egg whites and then start beating it. So what this does is it doesn't let the meringue come to its fullest volume. So that's one reason. So you want it to come to its fullest volume. Okay. So I'm going to stop here to check the peaks. Okay. So to check the peaks, take a little bit of the meringue and see. Okay. So this is kind of bending a little bit. Okay. So it's a little beaky. So now it's in medium peak. Soft peak we added the caster sugar. Medium peak we're going to add the color now, because we don't want to go to stiff peak and then add color and then over mix the meringue. Okay, so you want to add the color at this stage. Just gonna stick to, yeah, and again nobody wants to make white macarons, so we obviously use colors. So there are some restrictions on using the colors also. I think I'll just go for for a lighter color. So what I would usually recommend is try and use a light color, because it's, you don't have to add too much color. I mean, avoid colors as much as possible whenever you can. But if you are adding, if you really want dark colors, you have to add them all at once. Okay, you can't add a little bit, mix it and then check the consistency and then again add a little bit more. That will, obviously it will end up over mixing your meringue. So all at once, whatever it is. And if you want like really dark colors like red or royal blue or black, I would suggest adding some powder color to your dry ingredients and mix it, sieve it along with the dry ingredients and then add a little bit of gel. So the contribution of color should come both from the powder color and the meringue as well. Okay, so that will give you better results, because if you add all the color in the meringue, it's going to disturb the consistency. Okay, so all the while you've been taking all the efforts to get rid of the moisture and then suddenly you add all the color in it and undo everything. So that's something that you don't want to do. So all throughout I'm almost at the medium speed. I'd recommend you to maintain at medium speed. Okay, and also there are few things that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm just checking. So this almost stiff peak now. Okay, I want it a little more stiffer now. Yeah, one more thing is, see, you can see the difference between this bowl and this bowl, right? Okay, this is a much wider bowl and this is a very hollow bowl. You will come to the stiff consistency faster in this bowl than in this, because here you have to take your mix around like this. Okay, that will take time, whereas here it will come out quickly. So watch out for that consistency. Don't go by the time required to come to that consistency. Okay, so I'm happy with this right now. Yeah, so this is the consistency I'm looking for. Okay, stiff. Keep this aside. Okay, so now here I have my meringue and I have my dry ingredients. So the dry, if you have a food processor, well and good, put both your icing sugar and the almond meal, and then you could kind of just pulse it. Always pulse the nuts. Do not grind it, because the oil start coming out then and you get very thick lumps of, it'll become almond butter basically. Yeah, so all my dry ingredients are mixed up like this. Okay, so yeah, I am going to switch to this bowl because it's a little bigger. Okay, this is a little small for mixing. Okay, so my meringue, my stiff meringue and the dry ingredients. So I'm going to Only 3 additions, okay? Don't go for too many additions because more mixing, over mix, okay? So just gonna add 1/3 of it. Okay, so the way I will mix now here is take up your I like this kind of spatula. It doesn't have any ridges or, I know I'm being too specific about everything, but this is what I do, okay? Yeah, so scrape the sides of the bowl, cut through the center and fold it over like this, just like your cake batter, okay? Scrape, cut through the center and fold it over. Scrape, cut through the center and fold it over. The folding over, you do it from the bottom of the bowl so that all the dry ingredients come on top. Otherwise, you'll see all the meringue is being formed and all the dry ingredients below at the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so scrape again, cut through the center and fold over. Okay, so it's you can see that it's roughly incorporated right now. Okay, and I'm going to add the other 1/3, next 1/3. Yeah, so again repeat the same, be very gentle. So all the air bubbles that you have accumulated, just keep them. But obviously when you add the dry ingredients, the meringue does deflate a little bit because while mixing you're just taking away all the air bubbles. But just be as gentle as possible, okay? The second addition is done and it's roughly incorporated again. You don't have to make sure it's completely incorporated, otherwise you will be breaking a lot of air bubbles, okay? And the last one, thanks, and just repeat the same. Scrape, cut and fold, scrape, cut and fold, scrape, cut and fold. Okay, so now I can see that all the dry is almost incorporated, but it's quite thick. Okay, it's quite thick and it's very chunky. So now what we are going to do is we are going to slowly bring the consistency to a lava or ribbon consistency. That's what we are looking for. Fine. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of cutting it like this, I'm going to cut like this with this surface area of my spatula. So I deflate a lot of bubbles. Okay. That. Cut. Scrape. Cut. Scrape. Okay. So after 3 or 4 folds, I'm going to check the consistency if it's ready to pipe. So I'm going to do 2 things, okay? One is take a lot of macaron batter, that is macaronage. Take a lot of batter and don't take it too high, just gently tilt it. What can you see? You can see that it's just falling off in a blob, which means it's not ready. Are you able to see it? Okay, fine. So now I'm carrying on doing 2, 3, 4 molds, 2 or 3 folds more. And yeah, that's it. Just 3 or 4 folds and then check it again. If you're not sure, check after every fold. That's even more safer. Okay, so take out a little bit more and don't take it too high. Kind of tilt the spatula a little bit. Now you can see it's much better than last time, but it's only 2 or 3 folds more. So again continue doing the same. Again. Can you see it's not breaking? It's almost continuous. But we are looking for just a little bit more. And always remember that it's okay to have an undermixed batter. It's okay. But if you overmix, you will not get a macaron. Okay, so it's okay even if it's a little bit undermixed. So I'm just going to show it a little bit higher. So it has to fall continuously in a slow ribbon. Okay, until then I keep mixing it. A little bit more. So at this point you want to be like really careful, don't overdo it. So now you can see, no, it's almost coming in a continuous ribbon. So if you have like 1 or 2, 3, 4 folds in your batter, you can stop. Okay, that's about it. So if you can see there are 3 or 4 folds more, and if I leave the batter like this, it will settle out. Just gonna, it's almost continuous. Okay, and also if you think you're not confident with this method, you could do what is called a spoon test. I've had some spoons here. Yeah. So in a spoon test, what you can do is, I mean, I would ideally do it on a tray or something. Okay, so yeah, no, I have to tap it. Take a little bit of the batter. Imagine this is your tray. Just drop it out like this, and then you would bang your tray like that. That's it. You can see that it's settled out, no? Which means it's ready. Okay. If it's like not settling at all, you could go for a couple of folds more. Or if it's settling out too fast, then you've overmixed it. So you can do the spoon test, and if you're not doing the ribbon test. Okay. So that's about it. So this is ready to pipe. So I'm going to pipe it. See, we're not going to bake the macaron here because it has to rest for at least an hour or so, and we don't have that kind of time now. So in a piping bag, or I prefer using this one. Yeah. Use a round tip. Yeah. I just use it. Okay, and one more thing about filling your macaronage in your piping bag is do not overfill. Okay, only 2-3 scoops at a time. That's because when you keep handling your macaron batter, it's equivalent to mixing your batter more and more. So I'm just going to feed in only like 2.5 scoops. Keep it aside. And put it on the counter, and I like to have my scraper. Just push all the macaron batter to the front. Okay, if you do it by hand, you'll end up losing 1 or 2 macaron, and that is 50 rupees or 60 rupees. So all these are, yeah, basically push it, take off the air bubbles, push it, and twist it like this so the batter doesn't come back from the piping bag. It's okay. Okay, so once that's done, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to do a sample piping. Great. So hold your piping bag at 90 degrees. Okay. So you ideally have your stencil beneath your silpat or parchment. So keep it at 90 degrees and squeeze your piping bag until you get the required size, and then you let go of the pressure and scrape it on top. Okay. 90 degrees, squeeze, done. Squeeze, done. If you do not keep it at 90 degrees, you will end up having lopsided feet. Sometimes feet will be bigger on one side and feet will be smaller on the other. I think he likes the macarons. Fine. Okay, if anyone wants to try, can come in. I have some batter left. Okay. Ideally have a template. to help you reach the correct size. If you do the correct size, everything will get baked uniformly. Otherwise, one will be overdone and one will be crispy, one will be chewy. So, template is definitely necessary. Yeah, pipe it. So, ideally, this will be on a tray, and the tray will be banged twice or thrice on the counter. So, this ideally should be banged. This I'm not doing it because it's getting a little disturbed. Um, yeah, so at this point, I'd like to take my what do you call this? Toothpick, and take out all the air bubbles. For instance, you can see there are air bubbles here. So I want to close them all out quickly. Okay. So this is the one that I took it up a little bit, so this is not going to settle. Others all looking fine. I mean, if I had banged it a little bit more, it will settle faster. So this has to rest ideally in Chennai at least 1.5 hours outside, like under the fan. Okay, then it becomes really what, dry. Okay, dry to touch, meaning not dry just from the top, it should be dry throughout. Overall it should be dry.
Right.
Okay, so this aside, this this has to be, keep it like that. This can be, this nozzle, sorry, yeah, I'll come to the baking temperature now. Okay, so there are several ways in which you can flavor the shells. Traditionally, the flavors are not flavored. Okay, not flavored. Just the goodness of almonds. That's all it is. Okay. If you want to use extracts or essences, one thing is you can use powdered flavorings like freeze-dried raspberries, cocoa powder. Um, you can do matcha powder. All the powdered materials you can put it along with the dry ingredients and sieve it. Or you can use other nut meals like pistachio meal or hazelnut meal. You can remove part of the almond meal and then substitute with your other nut meal. That will give you whatever nut you're using, that flavor. Okay. But if you want to enhance it, I would most regularly do it in the filling rather than in the shell. Even in the shell you can, but if you're using fab extracts, I'd recommend you to use the oil based for the shells, because almonds got already the fat or the whatever fat content is from the almonds. The otherwise we are trying to get rid of the moisture, so don't use the liquid, the water based extracts or essences. Try and use the oil based extracts. Okay, but traditionally the shells are just the goodness of almonds and the flavoring comes from the filling. Okay, so now what we will do is we will get started with the fillings one by one, which is the exciting part, because when you eat the macaroon, it's the filling that matters more than how the macaroon looks. Because you're going to give it to a client, they're just going to put it in the mouth and tell you whether it tastes good or not. They're not going to tell you whether feet is there or feet is lopsided or stuff like that. Okay, so we will start with the salted caramel filling, and for the first one, I'm going to use Fab's toffee, which is very extremely nice flavor. It's an oil-based flavor. Just gonna try and find that out. 1 second. Yeah, it's the English toffee I'm using. Okay. Okay. So in the induction, fine. Sugar. Okay. So if anyone wants to note the recipe, can do. Thanks. Thank you. What else? Salt, salted butter, and the whisk. Cream. And the scale. Yeah. So, okay. So here I have 100 grams of caster sugar. So basically, I'm making toffee. I'm using toffee flavor. See, when you're using a flavoring, what I usually do is I make the actual thing that I'm claiming. Like I'm making toffee. I'm going to make toffee and then I will enhance it with the flavor. You cannot add toffee flavor in buttercream and call it toffee macarons. That's not the right way to do it. Okay. So start with a little bit of caster sugar. So I'm making a dry caramel here. Okay. So now that all my sugar is melted and is kind of amber color, I'm going to add a little bit more. I prefer using the dry caramel method, that is just directly caramelizing the sugar. And please be precautious while making caramels because they run really at high temperatures. Okay, if it's cooking fast, feel free to turn down the induction so that you have more control. Okay, so now my caramel is looking like this and I'm going to add the rest. See, when you see caramel burning, either take it off the stove or reduce the induction. See, you can see that I'm not stirring too much. I'm almost like stirring in the center because if you stir too much, the sugar crystals will crystallize the mixture. So ideally you shouldn't stir too much. Just keep your spatula to the center. 1 second. Anu, idu measure pannunga. Measure it in this. 60. Sorry, 80. Yeah, so now I'm adding 80 grams of Amul cream. Ideally I would warm the cream in the microwave. See, you can see the color of my caramel, right? It's perfect. It's nice and orange. Yeah, 80. Thank you. So warm it. If it's not, if it's liquidy like this, it's okay to use as it is. But ideally, you should warm it in the microwave. So I have turned off the stove now. I'm not cooking the caramel. Just switched it off. Now I've added the cream. Just beware of the splatters. You have like really hot steam coming out. After this, take a small whisk and kind of whisk it. Toffee is nothing but caramel, sugar, butter, sometimes condensed milk together. So that's what we're trying to recreate. Okay, now you can see that it's nice and amber. So I will take it off the stove like that and stir it for some more time. And I'm going to add the butter in. Okay, just little by little. Little by little. Oh, oh. Closer. Yeah, yeah. And keep whisking it. Butter is again 100 grams. 100 grams of sugar, 80 grams of cream and 100 grams of butter. Okay. Keep whisking. So you could use salted butter, which is what I am doing. Or you could add 2 grams of salt to make it salted toffee or salted caramel. There are hundreds of recipes online. You could use any of them. The point is make what you're claiming and then use the extract to make it more pronounced rather than just using the extract in cream or anything like that. Okay, so that's about it. Butter's added and all melted. If you have an immersion blender, you can emulsify it even nicely. Okay, so nice and doesn't have any lumps. This filling needs time to set. That's why I started with it. Now I'm going to add like a few drops of the toffee extract, which is the English toffee extract. It's an oil-based extract. Yeah, just making sure. Okay, that's it. Just a couple of drops. Put it in. So I'd like to pour it in a flat tray like this, so it sets faster. If I leave it like this, it will take 2 hours to set. So we have to use it immediately. இது அப்படியே இதுல போட்டுருங்க. Okay, put it in a tray like this. Use the spatula. Or okay, it's okay, no problem. I'll leave the spatula later. Yeah, it's okay. And give it to her to wash. Enough. Okay, so just spread it across like that, so it sets faster and goes in the fridge. Okay, you can't use it when it's hot or when it's at ambient temperature. It has to be cold. Okay, so this is 3 yolks and an egg, 1 egg, 60 ml of passion fruit juice or puree. So you can make any curd out of this recipe just by substituting your passion fruit juice with whatever juice you want, like mango or that. So these are oranges and these have better flavor. But then this passion fruit, fresh passion fruit, it's perfect when you have like the grayer pulp and you want to, do a passion fruit flavor. And you can. So for the curd, I have 60 ml of the passion fruit puree without any sugar. This is just the juice alone. And I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to this and the remaining to my eggs. There are 3 egg yolks and 1 egg in this. Okay, so I'm just going to put it in the bowl and add my sugar and whisk it well. Sugar is 60 grams and butter is 30 grams. Okay, so whisk it well. And keep it aside. So now you have to bring this to boil and you will temper this mixture. Okay, so switch it on, go at low. Since the quantity is very less, everything happens faster, so just beware of that. Bisc வந்துருச்சான்னு கேளுங்க அவங்க கிட்ட வாஷ் பண்ணது. Okay. This is one way to do a passion fruit curd. The other way is to combine everything in a bowl and keep it on a double boiler and slowly keep whisking it so that the egg yolks kind of thicken the mixture up. Okay, that's how you do curds. Or this is another way to do it. So I'm just waiting for it to come to a boil. Okay, so it's come up to a boil now. Take it off and add, as you keep whisking, pour the passion fruit syrup. Okay, just give it a mix. This is exactly how you would do pastry cream, right? Like you will temper the mixture and then put it back. Okay, so once this mixture is done, put it back and again keep whisking. Because when the mixture is hot and when you don't whisk, when you pour something cold, that too with eggs, they will start scrambling up in the heat. So keep on whisking. Thank you. Okay, now it's time to put it back on the stove and at low and keep whisking it. When you whisk, I mean scrape the shit out of the bottom of the pan, otherwise it scrambles at the bottom and you don't want eggs to scramble in your pan. So you can see that it's a little foamy right now. As it keeps getting thicker and thicker, the foam will gradually disappear and it will become very thick. Literally scrape the bowl. And again, the size of the pan that you use matters a lot. See, it's come to a boil. So take it off the stove and keep whisking it. Yeah, the foam's gone, and you can see how thick it is, right? Okay. Yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna cook it a little bit more at low. So I need a little more thicker while doing it for the macarons. So just a little bit more. Don't overcook it, otherwise it becomes too thick. And that's it. Yeah, when it starts boiling and looks nice and shiny, you can stop. Spoon Ilka. Yeah, spoon Ilka. Yeah. Just add like little bit at a time. Just add a little bit at a time. And so butter has to be added always off the stove. Otherwise butter splits when it's too hot. Yeah. Butter is 30 grams. Fine. So I have nice passion fruit. Right now it might look a little loose because I just added the butter and the butter will melt and make it a little loose. So if you put it in the fridge, it will become nice and thick and set. Fine. So these are fillings that you can use for your cakes also, like inside your cake. They make really nice flavorful fillings. Yeah. Great. So what we can do is is this clean? Okay. Illa, we'll put it in two small containers. So it, yeah, like this. Yeah. So I'm going to put it in two small containers and then put it in the fridge so that it sets quickly. That's it. So ideally, if you're doing it for the first time, I would want you to strain it so that you get rid of the egg scrambles if there are any. Yeah. So yeah. So this goes in the fridge as well. Thank you so much. Okay. So what do we do next? Yeah, we will do the ganache. Yeah. Okay. So we'll make ganaches now. We'll make a couple of types. Okay, so I have used the English toffee and I forgot to put the passion fruit extract. So we'll add the passion fruit extract in it before it sets. Yeah, it's just a couple of drops. Yeah, 1 second. Just mix it well. Okay, so I've used English toffee, passion fruit, and I have an Irish cream, and I have the dulce de leche. Dulce de leche I'll do it at the end. I'll do the Irish cream first. Yeah, this is the Irish cream. Careful. Okay, so I have like two chocolates here. We're making ganache now. One is my milk chocolate, Coacha. And I just want to measure it out once before I do it. Okay, I have like 100 grams of the milk, and this is a very rare precious chocolate that I have, but I'm just going to use it. It's Valrona's Dulce chocolate. So this is more like a caramelized version of a white chocolate. Okay, very, it tastes very nice and goes well with, I thought it'll go well with Irish cream, so I'm just going to use that as well. And this needed to be chopped, so we have chopped it. So this is another 100 grams. So here when making ganache, there are different ratios for different chocolates that you want to follow. And also Irish cream has a tint of coffee to it, right? Like Baileys or whatever. So I have a little bit of coffee powder also. Instant coffee powder this is. Yeah, so my point is, here we are using Dulce, which is equivalent to white chocolate, and this is Calibro milk kovacha, which is a milk chocolate. Okay, so if it's a dark chocolate, you would use 2 parts chocolate and 1 part cream. And if it's milk, you would use 2.5 parts chocolate and 1 part cream. And if it's a white chocolate, you would use 3 parts chocolate and 1 part cream. So that it's pipeable for you. Okay, that's the ratio that you remember. Okay, so accordingly, I will measure out my cream. You don't have to use cream to make ganache. You can use literally anything to make ganache. Like the passion fruit puree that I had, you can measure out and you can pour it on the chocolate as well. So you can make fruit ganaches with that. Or you can even make just water ganaches. In water, I would probably just add, oh, maybe we will try that today. So I'm just going to, for the milk, I will just use water. So this is milk, so help me with a little math. So if this is 100 grams, what is 100 divided by 2.5? 100 divided by 2.5? 40. Okay. So just going to add 40. Yeah. It's okay. 1 or 2 grams doesn't matter. So 40 grams of water and the coffee, instant coffee, to flavor it, a little coffee. Yeah, your taste, however strong or this thing you want it. I just need this to be, thanks. Fine. So switching this on, basically I'm making a decoction with an instant coffee powder. So let this come to a boil, then I will pour it on this. Okay, so it's already come to a quick boil. I don't think I want to add sugar in it because milk chocolate is quite sweet on by itself. It's come to a boil. Take it off and don't pour such a hot liquid on kovacha chocolates. Okay, they will split. Okay, they might split now also. I don't know, but generally about 80 degree, 85 degrees is a correct temperature to make ganache with. Okay, so just let it cool down a little bit. Okay, I have my spatula. Okay. If this doesn't melt, we can always microwave to melt both together. And usually milk chocolate and white chocolate does not melt very easily. So you can always microwave it. Use your spatula as much as you can, and then whatever is remaining you can microwave it. See if microwave is on. No? On pani paranga. Connect பண்ணுமா? Hmm? Can we connect it? Yeah, can you please connect the microwave? Okay, so I have some lumps here which I will microwave it. Over karda. Just put 30 seconds. Okay, so now we'll do the ganache with the Dulce chocolate. Now we'll need 33, right? 33, 3 is to 1. Okay, some more coffee in the cream. 33, 35 grams. It's okay, 3, 4 grams doesn't matter. Let's bring it to a quick boil. I need this. Such a small quantity is a little difficult with the saucepan. We'll microwave it if it does not melt. And we'll add a little more coffee. Okay. So the cream, you can use anything to infuse in your cream. Like you want to infuse tea bags also, you can infuse tea bags instead of coffee. Or whatever spices, chili flakes, whatever you want to infuse, you can infuse in the cream. Idio micro. So yeah, so this is looks like this. So this is the ganache made out with milk and water, basically water ganache. Okay, there are a little more lumps here as well. You can strain it out and put it in the fridge to set. Okay. No need to add butter to this. Okay, there are a little more lumps I want to. Anyway, so this I will put it in a. Yes, I will add it. Okay, so just gonna add a little bit of Irish cream. It's got a coffee tint to it. That's all. Don't add too much, just this much only is enough. I have made these fillings already because don't think we'll have time for it to set. But anyway, we'll see whatever is set, we can taste them all. So if you want to like improve, like extend the shelf life of your whatever your macaron or cakes, you can do the water ganache because it's got no dairy in it, and it won't spoil very soon. Or if you're sending something out of town, okay, it will be a little less richer, but definitely works. Okay, so this I'm going to put it in the fridge again to set. You get a very not equivalent, similar caramel types in Calibu. You get Calibu Gold, which is not exactly this, but yeah, a less caramelized version of that. Yeah, so this is the Dulce ganache. This I will definitely put it up for tasting. Alternatively to this, the closest thing that you can do, and whatever I have at the moment, is by caramelizing the condensed milk can that you get, like the Amul condensed milk, you can pressure cook it for about 40 minutes or so. And yeah, so this I will pass it on for tasting. Yeah, so that is also dulce de leche, and that's what I have here. I have pressure cooked 1 can of Amul condensed milk, and look at the colors, almost similar. This is slightly more caramelized as well. Okay, so what we can do now is, yeah, so to the dulce de leche I want to just, which is for this, to this, did I add it or not? I did. Okay, so that's done. So all the extracts are done. So basically what I'm trying to say is, do the actual thing and then you can use the extracts to just enhance it nicely. Sometimes doing the real flavors does not work. Like for instance, how much ever you do lemon ganache, the lemon will not show through because white chocolate will overpower everything. At that point, you can use lemon extract or whatever it is to help you bring that flavor out a little bit more. So what I've done here is, this I do no matter whether it's hollow or not. I use my thumb to push down the base of the macaron a little bit. This gives me more space for the filling, and the more filling it is, the more delicious it is. Okay, so the filling, the proportion of the filling has to be a little more. Yeah, so pair them up like that. That's the standard size, which is 1.5-inch diameter. This is slightly a smaller one. Nobody's tasting this? Okay, so I have another buttercream also with the Irish cream added, just to have a variety. Okay, so this is dulce de leche. This is the passion fruit curd. This is the salted caramel. So they look like this once they are set. Now it's, I think now the salted caramel would have set. Yeah, please. I will fill it and I will pass it around. Okay. Take it out from the condensed milk can. So what you can do is you can just add a little bit of milk, a couple of tablespoons of milk, and then microwave it a little. That will loosen it a little. Okay, so you guys can taste this also. Please taste this if you guys want. And this is the Italian meringue buttercream. Just let me do this for the buttercream. Yeah. So if you do this, you will have more space for the filling. And also when you're filling, don't have to do this. Just stay at one place and just a blob. So I'm just gonna do that. Yeah. And generous with the filling. And so when you sandwich it, so see it's not enough. So I'll need to add a little bit more. So it has to just peek outside. Okay, so this is it. And the salted caramel is slightly a runny one. So I'm going to just moderate it a little bit, not doing too much. Otherwise, the shells keep dancing. They don't stay in one place. So runny fillings, moderate it, not too much. Or you could use a stable filling and do a dam. Do this and just a blob in the center. Like that. Okay. See, your macaron shells don't have to be perfect or pretty. Okay. All that matters is your filling, taste and your filling. That's what everyone cares. Kind of like. And more filling, more merry. Yes. So I'm just going to moderate it. Probably just do the buttercream. So all the luster work that I do on cakes, on macarons, I do it with Evaporex. I used to use vodka. Vodka is basically alcohol and a little bit of water, no? 37% alcohol, I believe, yeah, if I'm not wrong. So what happens is when you do a luster on cakes, you need to have as less moisture as possible. If you see Wilton's lemon extract, you will see it's 87% alcohol and the remaining is water. So you see that it kind of evaporates very fast. And then it's easier for you to do the sheen on cakes or whatever it is. People who cannot use alcohol can most definitely use Evaporex. This is what I use for my wedding cake classes also. So I'm using a little bit of luster dust. Thank you so much. And these days I don't do macarons without putting gold on it. So if you want to like do a thick coat, you have to add little lesser, or if you want to like spray or just sprinkle it, then more Evaporex. Just mix it up. Just gonna show you like a couple of variations. One is you could do this to create really pretty speckles So this will leave the luster on the macarons and will evaporate. So these specks really look pretty on dark colors, or you could just mix it as paste, and you could okay. This really like just lifts up the appearance of the macarons to another level. Or you could just do a simple strokes, yeah, yeah. Or if you want to like have a huge batch of macarons, just increase more. I'm sorry, I might spray on you a little bit. Just mix. So you can just do this. So this just gives a random splatter. Hi, this is Kartika Shravanti from Chennai. I'm the owner of Bakeman Begins, and I also have a retail store supplying cake decorating materials, and it's called K&A Cake Decors. Today I'm here to do the demo with Fab flavors and fragrances. They are absolutely my favorite and is a part of all my bakes. Today I did a demo on French macarons, which is a very popular confections with 4 of the flavors that Fab one of my, I mean, 4 of my favorite flavors from Fab, and I hope people enjoyed it. I really thank Hema and Mr. Chabra for giving me this really wonderful opportunity to connect with people in this expo, and looking forward to working with them more. Thank you so much.